Mankind has sent an expedition to Mars, not even knowing that there is life there. Vincent and Rebecca are driving on Mars. A sandstorm appears in front of them. It is the first storm of the season. Because of the storm, Kim is unable to collect soil samples, which slows down the expedition. Vincent asks over the radio for a backup copy. Other astronauts also see the storm approaching and hide in structures. There are 19 hours left until the end of the expedition. After the storm, Kim leisurely takes soil samples while Vincent and Rebecca discuss their impending return to Earth. Kim is frustrated that their research hasn't led to any discoveries. Maybe another expedition will find something. Vincent jokingly offers to stay and continue working, and Kim tells him, "Suck my carrot." Periodically, the base has power problems. Trinity is asked to return as soon as possible. Richard contacts Earth and airspace is open for them, but an electrical failure cuts off communication. Marco is puzzled that the sensors in Gamma Sector 7 have stopped responding. He wants to check out what happened there. Charles thinks this is very dangerous because it will be night soon. Nevertheless, he allows Marco and Richard to check the sensors. Actually, Marco has a completely different plan. He wants to collect new samples because he has discovered a microscopic anomaly. He asks Richard not to tell anyone. Vincent checks the technical condition of the ship they are going back to Earth on. Half of the filters are out of order. They will literally be flying on a bomb. Kim realizes that Marco is breaking the rules. This is the first time humans have been able to find life on Mars. The team doesn't understand why Marco didn't tell them. Charles contacts Richard and forbids them to enter the sector, but Marco doesn't care. He wants Richard to take the camera and go to him, to capture the moment. Suddenly, the ground cracks and Marco falls into a hole. Richard runs to help him, but there is nothing he can do. After a while, other astronauts arrive. Richard reports that Marco fell into a hole and is probably dead. Lauren doesn't want to believe it and offers to go down and look for a colleague. Charles orders them not to do that for now, since they do not have the equipment. He suggests that they bring equipment for a safe descent. Lauren convinces them to leave her to guard the pit while they go back to get the equipment. Headquarters on Earth is shocked by what has happened and is preparing a speech for the public. They also need to find out what happened to Marco's body. Lauren gets really bored and goes out to look at the hole, but returns to the rover anyway. After a few minutes, someone walks up to the transport and starts to open the door. After, communication with Lauren is lost. When the team returns to the pit, Lauren has disappeared somewhere. They suspect that Lauren went down the hole. The team goes looking for her. Vincent notices a rock formation completely covered with living vegetation. He gets sick and is immediately pulled to the surface. Robert has tracked 2 sets of footprints toward the base. Charles doesn't understand the point of walking to the base if they drove themselves to the hole. They warn Kim and Richard, who remain at the base. Kim thinks they are suffering from hypoxia, which is why they cannot think normally. A little later, they manage to spot their companions, and Richard goes to the airlock to let them in. That was a big mistake, my friend. Marco is no longer human. Yeah, you guessed it. He is already a zombie. Marco grabs the drill and injures Richard. I thought he was going to bite him. He's on his last legs, but manages to pull the alarm. Lauren enters the base and immediately runs after Kim. Richard manages to hide in one of the airlocks, but Kim has to fight 2 monsters at the same time. Richard tries to contact the team, but his strength is running out. The team returns to the base and immediately notices signs of the battle. Kim manages to trap the monster in the lab. However, the monster proves to be much smarter and breaks through the glass. Charles tries to convince Marco that he's sick, but Marco doesn't care. He wants to eat barbecue and runs to him. Charles runs away at light speed. For the sake of survival, Kim also runs out of the base and blocks the door. As a result, Charles cannot open the door in time and is wounded. The team tapes up the wound as quickly as possible while Kim rips out the lock. The pressure in the base is almost non-existent, and everyone finally realizes that Marco and Lauren are no longer human. In the hydroponics, Charles becomes aggressive and dies. Just in case, Kim ties him up. A few minutes later, Charles's body is covered in black veins, but everyone is distracted by the massive explosion. The monsters have figured out how to blow up the airlock and have escaped to the surface. They can't alert HQ because of the lack of communication. Vincent suggests using the oxygen tunnel to get into the main building undetected by the monsters. The problem is that only Charles can establish communication, and he has already begun to move. Vincent is willing to take his chances while Rebecca checks the blood sample. Unknown bacteria have entered the bloodstream and are infecting the body. Vincent makes it to the base. There are no zombies here as they are busy breaking down the door. Rebecca wants to try to destroy the bacteria with their medicine. They can try adding antibiotics to the cleaning gate and lure the monster in there, or use Charles. His pulse is long gone, but he still shows signs of life. Only after the injection does it stop completely. The analysis shows that the bacteria are dying. The steam in the airlock should also work. Vincent manages to turn on the electronics. As soon as he says SOS, the power goes out. The monsters stop smashing the door and run back to the base. Kim opens the door and lures one of the monsters into the airlock. Rebecca reports that the Earth medicine is powerless. The bacteria developed a resistance very quickly, and Charles is able to move again. Wandering around the base, Vincent finds Richard, who has also become a zombie. A fight breaks out. Thinking he's Wolverine's brother, Vincent tries to kill the monster, but the monster that ate the Martian's potatoes is too stubborn. Vincent has to run, but he fails to close the airlock in time, causing a depressurization. Kim throws acid at the monster. Robert doesn't want to die and locks the door, leaving the girl with the monster. The bacteria inside Lauren overcame the medicine, and she began to wake up. In just one move, she injures Rebecca, but they manage to board the rover and head for the landing module. The charge in the transport is almost zero. They can't get to the station, they have to walk. But Rebecca is badly wounded. Vincent offers to go back and sew up her wound. Robert wants to leave her behind as she might be infected. They are distracted by approaching monsters. They must go to Sector 9, where another vehicle is parked. Under the pretense of helping, Robert volunteers to inspect the rover alone. Vincent doesn't suspect anything and agrees. Once inside the vehicle, Robert tries to convince Vincent that Rebecca is infected and they need to leave her behind. Even though Robert himself has been infected for a long time, Vincent runs to the rover and Robert drives off. As monsters appear in the distance, all that's left is to wait until dawn, when the solar panels will recharge the transport. A few hours later, a shuttle descends to Mars. Vincent wakes up and doesn't find Rebecca, only footprints in the sand. Vincent follows them, even though Rebecca begs him not to come any closer, and no need to save her again. She takes off her helmet and almost immediately turns into a monster. Vincent manages to get through to her humanity, and Rebecca begs him to eliminate her. As the shuttle lands in the distance, monsters immediately approach. Crew shouts are heard over the radio, but the monsters are distracted by lunch. Thanks to this, Vincent sneaks into the shuttle and finds Robert. Vincent won't let him go back to Earth, it's too dangerous. A fight breaks out and Robert punches Vincent's suit. Only as the shuttle rises into space does Vincent manage to open the airlock and throw Robert overboard. Vincent reports that the entire rescue team is dead, and he may be infected as well. If so, he will burn up the ship in the atmosphere in 15 minutes. This is where the movie ends.